Welcome back. So I briefly alluded to these social enterprises. Okay? Now, when I talked about the history of Homeboy Industries, it's a job training and rehabilitation program. About 300 get to go through the full 18-month program, and that includes working in some of Father Boyle's different social enterprises. Okay? Now, a social enterprise, how is that different than a social entrepreneurship? Well, okay, and by the way, some people would say they're one and the same. We argue about definitions in academia. That's how we make our money. But for purposes of this playlist and this discussion, when you look at a social entrepreneurship, it may or may not make a profit, right? In fact, all of Father Boyle's social entrepreneurships don't make any profit. They achieve a societal need. They're almost like charities. Now, the social enterprise says that you're doing good and making money at the same time. That's the difference. And so let's look at some of these social enterprises, and I think it'll help. Again, this is where they employ homies for the 18-month program. So they do, some social entrepreneurship kind of stuff a few hours a day. Case management, domestic abuse counseling, mental health, all that kind of good stuff. And then they start working in the different social enterprises, and they work more and more in the social enterprises as their training progresses. And some of them will never get to leave Homeboy Industries social enterprises because they cannot find a job anywhere. Maybe they're too old, nobody wants to hire them because of their criminal past, whatever, right? But that's kind of the unfortunate thing. So some people will stay for years in the Homeboy Bakery, the Homegirl Cafe, etc., because they cannot get a job. But at least they're able to provide value back into Homeboy. And that's the interesting thing here, because the revenue from these social enterprises normally pays, or at least breaks even, and some of them actually make a profit, and then that goes to finance the social entrepreneurship side, right? So I talked to you about how expensive, and yes, Homeboy Industries, probably 2/3 of their programming is paid for by charities, but that other third is coming from these social enterprises. So these social enterprises are helping to subsidize the social entrepreneurships, okay? So that's what's kind of cool here. So let's talk about some of these things. They've got the bakery. That's the oldest one. The bakery was Father Boyle's first idea. They bake really, really delicious breads. And it's not like just like Wonder Bread or something that you see at the grocery store. It's like organic jalapeno and cheddar cheese loaf. It's like really fancy bread and on unusual sizes. They make the bastard loaves and the baguettes, and it's really like fancy gourmet bread. And so that's their first one. And the bakery, we think, breaks about even. There's the Homegirl Cafe. And if you ever go down to Homeboy Industries and you see it from the street, you're probably actually looking at the front of Homegirl Cafe. And so if you actually want to go in and talk to any of the people working there, you just actually go around the corner and to this side door. But the Homegirl Cafe, that is a place that provides excellent food. They have amazing coffee. They have amazing homemade pastries. They have like really unusual food that has kind of a Latin flair to it. When I was there, I had organic turkey and kale chili. I don't even like turkey. It was amazing, right? Of course, they have an electronics recycling program. They bought an electronics recycling organization just down the street from Homeboy Industries. So you can bring your computer down there and they'll take it apart. Oh, well, they can refurbish things too. They can also take care of making sure that your personal data is swiped from the computer, or not swiped, swabbed or cleaned from the computers. And they can also strip the electronics down for their component parts and just take out the precious metals and all that kind of stuff. They have a diner at LA City Hall, and it's been called the most delicious gang abatement program in Los Angeles. It's kind of a grab-and-go kind of place. They do catering. So if you're having like a wedding or something like that, they'll put together everything from like little box lunches to like really, really elaborate cooking. Fancy stuff that people want at a wedding. They can do it all, and they can take care of people from just 10 people at the event to thousands. They're very, very good. They have a grocery service set up, and the grocery service is they have the Homeboy chips and salsa, which you may have seen at Ralph's and some of the Ralph's. They were trying to get into Walmart. I don't think they have yet, but Ralph's for sure has them. And it's chips and salsa, and I think they do guacamole too. And the cool thing about this is it's a licensing agreement with a company that's out of state. So they make the chips, the salsa, and the guacamole, and they pay a premium to Homeboy Industries for the right to use that name. And so Father Bowl doesn't even have to do anything. Well, Homeboy Industries doesn't even have to do anything. They make money off of it right off the top, which is kind of neat. They do farmers markets. They sell things from the Homeboy Bakery and produce also at these local farmers markets. They do silkscreen and embroidery. So let's say you want to get like a shirt with your name on it or for your company name. They'll do that for you. There's homeboyfoods.com. It's kind of like that Larry, I always want to call it Larry David. It's not it. Harry and David gift baskets, it's kind of like fancy stuff, and you give it to somebody for their birthday. That's what homeboyfoods.com does. It's like cookies and truffles and all sorts of neat stuff like that. They also sell Homeboy apparel and merchandise, so you can get like a shirt with Homeboy on it. There's the LAX Cafe, which is also a pretty interesting arrangement. So the LAX Cafe is, and if you take Southwest, you're in the wrong terminal at LAX. When I take American, I can go to the Homeboy Industries Cafe. Originally, what they wanted to do is have homies work at this cafe at LAX, but the problem was LA public transportation is terrible, and it was taking almost 3 hours to get to LAX. And then the other problem was a lot of them couldn't pass security clearance checks to get in and work at LAX airport because of their criminal backgrounds. So what they wound up doing is doing another licensing agreement with a different company, and again, they pay for the right to use Homeboy's name, and so they just collect money straight off of that. And so these things are used to partially subsidize the social entrepreneurships. Now, where the Father Boyle is very pro-social entrepreneurship, charity, let's do as much good as possible and the finances will come. Tom Bozer, really wants to run Homeboy Industries like a business. And he wants them to be accountable for the bottom line, and he wants a lot of these things to actually make a profit, okay? And, it's hard to make a profit because of the fact that they're paying these trainees slightly more than minimum wage the whole time they're in the program, and they may not even be working at the bakery, in the first, few weeks because they're working on themselves first. Now, part of the thing that helps is the fact that the Homeboy Industry stuff, it's not cheap. It's kind of expensive. However, you can never argue with the quality. You can never argue with the quality. I mean, when I went and I had my meal at Homeboy, I think it was like 20, 25 bucks, which is very expensive considering what you got and considering the neighborhood it was in. But I was happy to do it because I knew what it was going for. And it was really good food on top of that. It was really tasty. So, same thing with the wedding catering. It's a little more than normal, but it's really a high quality experience. They make a good product. And so that kind of helps offset the very high labor costs, but it's still not quite enough. So in the next video, we're going to talk about some of the theoretical findings. I think you'll find this discussion quite interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video, and as always, hit that like button if you enjoyed this discussion. Also hit that subscribe button, I'm a starving YouTube creator, and comment down below. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.